Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next GradCracker webinar featuring QinetiQ. So QinetiQ is a British multinational defence technology company which is headquartered in Farnborough, Hampshire. So today we're joined by Mike, Early Careers Recruiting Advisor, and 3 grads who all found out about their roles about QinetiQ on GradCracker. So Mike, my love, I'm going to start with you. Tell the students all about QinetiQ, please.
Great, where to start? So I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. And hello, afternoon, everybody. To put it simply, QinetiQ is a company of scientists, engineers and specialists who offer world-class expertise and advice, services, particularly sort of in our test and evaluation and innovative technology-based products. We operate primarily in the defence, security and critical national infrastructure markets. As a company, we deploy our scientific and technological knowledge, research capabilities, and a lot of unique facilities to provide both services and products that meet the needs of a wide range of global customers. Now that's a lot of a mouthful for people to probably understand. So there's a very simplistic way that I got taught around QinetiQ, and it's probably quite high in the media right now, which is James Bond. So that's probably twigged a lot of people's ears straight away. But the best way I got to explain it is, as many fans of James Bond will know, there's a character called Q, who typically provides services, products, and a lot of gadgets, usually in James Bond, to make sure that when James is out in his field, he's safe, he's got advice, he knows what he wants to do, such things as pens that can hear through walls, or his Aston Martin, which can do a lot of fun stuff. Best way to remember us, like Q for Q in James Bond, is we do that for our customers. So James Bond is our customer, us as QinetiQ, we provide advice, services, products, and sort of innovative technologies to make sure our customers are safe in any environment, whether that be the harshest that there possibly can be, like such as the MODs and other military services, or any commercial products that they're looking for and dealing with. So that's to keep us sounding very Hollywood.
I love James Bond. Why are you not wearing your tuxedo there, Mike?
I don't look good in it. I can't compare with James Bond.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. So thank you very much for that introduction, Mike. That was brilliant. What we're going to do now is a quick fire fact round with Mike and the grads. So something interesting that our listeners, our viewers might not know about. And James, I'm heading over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm not James Bond, sadly, but James at QinetiQ, that's me. A fun fact about QinetiQ that I found is some of the research I've been doing since I started has been written by people that have actually worked at QinetiQ for decades and are experts in their field. So yeah, knowing that QinetiQ has been at the forefront of like materials analysis for decades is sort of really motivating me to learn more about working in the company.
Thank you very much for that fact, James. Matt, on to you.
Hi, I'm Matt. One of my fun things that I've learned, so not only does QinetiQ design and invent things like Q, but we also go out and test things, so explosives and whatnot. But we also test things for other people as well. And that's quite a nice, fun thing to think about.
I know you've got such great opportunities, haven't you? And thank you for that, Matt. Maud?
Yeah, so one thing I've come across is that there's like over 60 fellows, which are basically very accomplished clinical, scientific or engineering individuals who are nationally or internationally recognized over 25 fields. So to put this in layman's terms, if I ever have a problem, there's always somebody who's like extremely expert level at that thing. So it's very easy to find information, which has been very helpful.
I bet it has, Maud. And is that your future grand plan then, to become a fellow in the next quite a few years? I didn't want to wager then, just to say next couple of years.
It will be so, I think that's for any ambitious person like myself, becoming an expert is the goal. You know, it takes a lot, there's a lot you have to do to get there, but you know, to be in QinetiQ, they really push you towards that goal point, so it's good.
Thank you very much, Maud. And let's finish off with Mike, the expert in graduate recruitment.
I'm going to take that title well. So apart from being that, I'm a bit of a space geek. If you could see my room, I've got a telescope sitting right next to me. But yeah, as a company, we're a world leader in electric propulsion systems. We have a product called an ion thruster. Now, happening right now as we speak, it is there powering a Bepi Colombo spacecraft, which is basically a joint project between the European and Japanese space agencies. And you can Google it right now. I think it's taking photos of Mercury, up close shots. So yeah, we're a world leader in that, which I think is really cool and quite proud of, actually, at times, to maybe talk to those people rather than being involved in the project itself.
I bet though, Mike, but I bet, seeing the graduates go all the way through the process, because I know you're kind of on your own now, aren't you, when it comes to sifting CVs and hiring all these grads. So I bet it's nice that you've taken them through over the last 3 years, all of their recruitment, and then seeing them, like now working on these fantastic projects. Yeah,
exactly. And even before that, coming to like the people who apply through GradCracker and so on, you meet and talk to a lot of interesting people. And everybody has a passion and interest, and the moment someone has that, they're 10 times more exciting and interesting. And someone like me, who will speak from a project manager who loves everything to do with projects all the way through to these ion thrusters, you learn a lot. But yeah, I think the people you come across who with that interest, it's really cool, really fun on my side.
It is, I bet it is. Thanks very much, Mike. So what we're going to do now is move on and meet the grads. So I'm going to start with you, Matt. So where did you go to university and what did you study, please?
So I was at Swansea University, Costa del Swan, and I studied mechanical engineering masters.
Brilliant. And how was Swansea?
Wet, as you'd expect in Wales. It was wet, but it was great fun. It was really good fun.
Where are you from originally then, Matt?
I'm literally next door to headquarters of Kinetic in Farnborough. So it's something that I've driven past a lot as a teenager, and I'm well aware of it.
Yeah, it's a big site, isn't it? I mean, I came to see you, Mike, about 2 years ago now, I think it was.
2-3 years, yeah.
2-3 years ago, and that massive roundabout, I remember it well. I think we got lost in the car park, to be honest with you, but we found you eventually.
Yeah, you were surfed that day, weren't you? I remember you ringing the office saying that.
So I rang Mike, I was like, Mike, I'm lost. He was like, all right, love, I'll come get you. You probably didn't call me love because you're not from Yorkshire. James, on to you. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
Yeah, so I went to Loughborough University and I did an integrated master's degree in materials engineering.
Thank you very much, James. I'm going to move on to you a little bit later to hear about your actual roles at Kinetic. But just introductions. Maud, last but not least, where did you go to university and what did you study?
So I went to the University of Bradford and I did a combined master's in chemical engineering with a focus on process safety and health and safety management.
Perfect, thank you, Maud. A big up to my hometown of Bradford, that's where I was born and bred. So, Mike, I'm going to have to get as many Yorkshire phrases in here as I can. You're just like, oh,
I can tell already.
Right, what we're going to do now, I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that all of the grads found out about Kinetic and obviously applied to Kinetic through the hub on GradCracker. So Matt, I'm going to start with you again. Why did you choose to apply to Kinetic and what was it specifically about the information on the hub that made you want to put your application together?
So first off, as I said, I'm really local to headquarters, so I've driven past it a lot. So I'm very aware of Kinetic, and they'd gone to a lot of fairs as well. So when I saw them on GradCracker, I thought, yeah, there we go. I should definitely apply to that one. Luckily, Kinetic, unlike some engineering places, allow you to actually apply to different roles. Mm-hmm. So not only can you apply to mechanical engineering, you can apply to applied science and other bits and bobs, whereas some of them only let you choose one, which is a bit annoying, really. And then what I applied for was applied science and mechanical engineering, but I ended up choosing the applied science one because I wanted to do a bit more sciencey stuff before I finished my graduate job role and then went into probably an office or something. So my role it's more based out in the field doing trials and then coming back and looking at stuff. So it's desk and outside role rather than just being mainly based in an office.
And so does that mean, Matt, that do you travel the UK? Do you travel abroad when you can and there isn't any restrictions, or is it predominantly in the local area? Just explain that a little bit more.
So even though my team is based in Farnborough, we actually look after a lot. We look after a site down near Bournemouth, where I am right now, which is why my Wi-Fi is not great. But what we do is my team is special vehicle assessment. So what we do is we design trials for vehicles. So this could be new vehicles, old vehicles, completely random vehicles. We've got one right now, which is a robot thing. And that's the only way I can describe it, because it is literally a robot thing. But we've got like off-roading, we've got slopes, we've got one of the biggest tilt tables in the UK here, which is amazing. Oh, wow. You should see a tank at 49 degrees like that. It's incredible. But yeah, so what my team do is we design the trials, and then we run them, and we advise on that kind of stuff. So that's what I got into, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Oh, I bet you are. Mike, just a question for you. So like Matt mentioned, he applied to 2 opportunities. So do the students have to apply differently? So is it the same application you can select 2, or do you have to put 2 completely different applications together?
So yeah, we've tried to streamline the process as we've gone and evolved through time. So just like Matt mentioned, we don't want to kind of reduce people's opportunity to apply. We want to have them have that chance to apply to anything that interests them, and everybody's interested in a lot of things. So there's that span. So there are multiple adverts. I think there's up to currently 15 graduate adverts. Once you apply through one of them, you go into that stream. So there may be 6, 7, 8 sub roles within mechanical engineering, let's say. So you'd apply to the graduate mechanical engineering, we'd educate you through the process, which I'll talk about later. And at that point, you can then start to decide where you want to break down into your speciality or interest. So there still may be multiple sort of streams you apply to, but we've tried to reduce that sort of loading of mass applications, because I'm sure that's a hard thing for a lot of people at this time when there's so many opportunities out there, specifically on GradCracker as I go through it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And I think the students watching will be glad that you talk them through the whole process as well, because you know basically, don't you, what the streams are all about and everything else. It'd be good that you do guide them through. I'm going to move on to you, James. So what in particular excited you about Kinetic on the hub?
Yeah, so like sort of Matt said, there were lots of different types of roles that I could apply within applied science or materials, which would use my degree. And I like that on the listing, they sounded interested in the projects I'd done at university.
Yeah.
And then once I'd sort of applied, the company sort of found for me that because a lot of my projects were polymer based, that my team now does quite a lot of work in polymer sort of materials, because there are different teams that work on different materials, but my one is quite focused to what I've done already, which makes it easy for me to use the skills that I learned at uni in what I'm doing now, which is good. Brilliant.
So from your point of view, when you were applying to Kinetic, what did you put quite a lot of detail about all the polymer projects that you've been working on at university?
Yeah, so I told them a few of the things that I'd done, but quite important I found was to put what I learned from it and the different challenges I faced from those projects and the things I overcame to make sure that they were as good as they can be.
Yeah, it's all experience, isn't it? I was presenting yesterday to the University of Kent, and they were asking me about mentioning different types of experience as part of their application, and that Jess is nodding away now because this is her bread and butter at this season. But when she's doing presentations, but it's not just about your work experiences, it's all about your academic experience that you've learned as well, that Mike would really like to know about. So students watching, don't forget to mention all those sorts of things when you're putting your application together. Maud, what excited you about a Kinetic? I was going to say, Maud, what excited you about GradCracker? It's like everything. What excited you about Kinetic on GradCracker?
So I guess I'm in a bit of a niche area in health and safety. In terms of that, health and safety, we know it's in everything. However, health and safety professions are very slim, especially earlier on. And what I liked about GradCracker was that you could actually filter out not only by region, but also by like what applications wanted to do. So project management, health and safety. So when I did the filter, Kinetic was probably one of maybe 5 specific health and safety roles. And what I really liked about the Kinetic advert was it was it just seemed to offer a lot of autonomy, which, having worked now, is true. I get a lot of choice in the projects I work on, and going through the process of applying and then interviewing and everything, I just found that Kinetic was just somewhere where there was a lot of freedom, and there was, like what the other guys are saying, there's a lot of encouragement to learn, and therefore you're not stuck. So even if you are a bit tentative to apply for one role and you want to apply to another one, don't think if you get into applied sciences, for example, you won't be able to go into weapons science. There's always opportunity through placements, or just going to people and saying, can I work with you for a month, to get experience in all areas, which has been quite good.
Yeah, that's definitely good, something to know about, isn't it? Because I think when somebody applies, they think, oh, I really want to do that, but I want to do a bit of this. So it's good to know that they can, circulate around the employer as well. Mike, it seems like we need to shout out to you because your job description seems to be hitting the spot. So well done putting all those together behind the scenes. Maud, particularly with health and safety, then why did that take your interest? Because it is quite a niche area that you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, so for me, it was just the modules that I had on my course. So like I said, I did chemical engineering. So there was loads of things I could have gone into. Materials is one of them. And when it came to doing risk, health and safety, it was just the element of having a technical aspect, but also being very front facing with people and customers. It's referred to as an enabling function, which means that we enable other people to do their jobs. We're involved in everything. Yeah. There's nothing that runs without our input. So it's just one of those things for me. I felt like it was important, and I like to work on things that I feel is important, which you will feel when you work in defense and in a sector like Kinetic works in. So that's why I chose health and safety.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Ma. That's a really good introduction. Very insightful. So Mike, I'm going to move on to you now, my love. So we've mentioned before about, obviously, all of your opportunities are now live on GradCracker. What do the students, graduates watching need to know about? Can you tell us a little bit more about timelines, etc., etc.?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess what you've probably gathered from just these short conversations with everybody who's joined today is there's opportunities across the whole spectrum. I literally can't even begin to list them all off. I think we'd end up being here for 2-3 hours. So that goes from those aerospace engineers all the way through STEM, really, not to list them all. And that also includes to anybody who's interested who might be in STEM sort of degrees or subjects. That also includes project management, commercial, business areas, which does lean a lot on people with expertise in those areas to also work in that field in a business environment or business structure as they go through. In regards to timelines, going across all our placements and grad opportunities run along the same timeline. So our adverts are obviously live now on GradCracker. I will sigh of relief after that. I'm sure it takes a lot. I know you, Jessica and Carla, are probably also happy with that.
Yeah.
But we'll be running our initial window up until about the 20th of November to pick a date, just roughly around that off the top of my head. There's more information on the site anyway, just in case I'm wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me. But we'll be open for all applications to come through those, where they'll go through the initial 4 stages. And again, I'll talk through that later, Carla, if they're happy to. Yeah. And then we move on to our virtual assessment centres and then look to do live interviews on site, so you can come get an experience of what Kinetic's like in person with the managers and get that short tour to see the weird gadgets. I think in the last one, people put on the infrared glasses or goggles, which is quite cool, like the see in the dark. You can tell I'm not technically minded. And just really experience it and get an understanding for whether it's right for them. So yeah, that we've opened now. We run those first stages up until mid-November, with our aim for our interviews to be around early December, and then hopefully an offer. But just to put a caveat in that, we're obviously looking for the best people, diverse, interested, everything that goes under that through those who apply at GradCracker. So there could potentially be a second window depending on sort of candidates and applications come through. So if you can't apply before December or November, and I hope you all do keep an eye on GradCracker and on our sort of hub portal page, just to see if there are any later opportunities that come up or anything that we may reopen towards the January period.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And so what you'll need to do there, everybody watching, is you're all you were going to say that, Jess. You're all aware of me and Jess have got the same minds. You're all at Mike's thinking, I don't need another Carla in my life. We follow Kinetic on GradCracker. Then, like Mike said, if we do,
how do you say it? How do you say it?
Follow
Follow.
follow on GradCracker. Oh, you're distracting me now. To be alerted to opportunities that Mike might be reopening in January time. So yeah, make sure you follow Kinetic today. Right, you do it now then. Crack on.
All right then. My turn. James, I'm going to come to you first. If you could tell me a bit about your current role, what you've been up to, and your experiences so far.
Yeah, so I'm on the weapon assessments team at Fort Halstead, which is near Sevenoaks. So I'm looking at doing materials analysis techniques on different weapon systems to see how they've been in service and if they're safe to use. But around Fort Halstead, everyone's really encouraging of saying, oh, if you want to get involved or if you want to see this happening, then just give us a shout, because there's always interesting things going on around me, that because there's so many different teams here that there's so much different science happening all at once. So there's a real opportunity to learn a lot about what's going on. I'm on some training at the moment to get competent using DMA, which is dynamic mechanical analysis. I was doing that this morning. Managed to do it without the instruction manual for the first time. That was cool. Yeah, so that's useful to understand that you don't go across a certain temperature range when a product's in service, because otherwise the material properties will change and then it won't function as it's meant to. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to learn things. I've got lots of training lined up, so I'll be getting more technically proficient in things, which is part of my goals. So yeah, it's really good at the moment.
We are going to touch upon training a bit later on. Carl, I thought you would say something then. So no, that's fine. So we're going to touch upon that a bit later on. So we want to find out a bit more about that. But in terms of, it sounds as though you've been involved quite a lot already and you've had quite a lot of support. Are you surprised with how much variation there is, how much support you've had and the opportunities you've experienced so far? It seems as though you've been given quite a bit of responsibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm surprised by it. I expected there to be support when I arrived, and it's definitely been there. In the first 30 days, we had all our Discovery 30 sessions, which are introducing the company to us and all the different important aspects. Yeah. And there's always been support staff there to help us. Yeah. But yeah, just people in and around the offices introducing themselves, talking about what they're doing. And you can really see the life cycle of how, because there's logistical teams, and then they break them down and then machine them, and then they send them to us to do materials testing. So you can really see the life cycle of how these components go from in service all the way to us to be tested. So yeah, it's good to understand more about how the whole company works as a whole.
That's really interesting. And in terms of the different projects you're working on, can your clients vary from land, sea and air, or is it just a certain project that you've been experienced and kind of been involved in so far?
I'm only on one project at the moment. Okay. Specifically, it's linked to Cavendish Lab at University of Cambridge. It's doing high impact shock physics to see different shear rates of propellant materials. So yeah, more of that to come in the future. But yeah.
Oh, that's good. Sounds interesting. I wish I was technical enough to ask you more questions about
Jessica,
that.
You know how I feel now. They're all so smart. They're all so smart and good. You sit and smile.
There's me, Mike, and Jess just smiling along, and the grad's like, yeah, no, I actually know what he's talking about. Really exactly. Serious. And us two just like, oh yeah, mint.
Basically, you hit it and it moves really quickly. That's what it means.
Thanks, James.
And why, if you don't mind me, so why would you be testing that? What's the reason for doing it?
So it helps to simulate what the material will go under. Say when you fire a rocket, it's going to be under really high temperature and pressure conditions. It's just to make sure that the material itself doesn't fail, or certain compositional elements don't move around too much, so that it stays homogeneous and all the same, to make sure that it's safe and functions as necessary.
It's like a stress test.
Yeah. Safe and suitable for service.
Applications now open, Jessica. If you wanna...
I know that, mechanical engineering degree I've got.
To be fair, the amount of students and recruiters that we speak to, I think we could get through an application stage. Mike, you owe me a couple of favours, love. You need to put me through.
Maud, I'm going to come to you next. Same question. So a bit about your experiences, your job role so far.
Okay, so my role is, I think, vastly different to everyone else's because, like I said, it's an enabling function. So although there will be situations where we work with customers, a lot of the time we're working internally with other Kinetic employees. So we are spread across all the sites. So I'm very fortunate. I will be traveling to everywhere. I'm based in Bottom Downtowns in Salisbury, but I'll be traveling to Fort Halstead, to Shoeburyness, to even the Outer Hebrides, just because my role needs that of me to get to the different places, the ranges, and assess safety in the different ways. So for me personally, like I said, I've got a lot of autonomy, so I get to make a lot of choices on the projects that I work on. So I've been outsourcing myself to different safety elements, aviation safety. I've outsourced myself to technical excellence, and I've outsourced myself to safety engineering. So I'm getting to work on just various different things and picking up things where I find there's interest, which I'm fortunate to do, and things that coincide with my CV, which my manager is very focused on doing. He wants to make sure that I'm doing things that I'm good at, but also that I enjoy doing, similar to what James did with his polymers. Anything that I've got on my CV, he tries to match things with me that will be suitable.
Ah, that's good. In terms of, you've mentioned like, relocating and things like that, and it's something I encourage, any student that's applying to any opportunity to be flexible on location, especially you've got it firsthand now. You've got the chance to move around the business, go and see different projects across the UK or, even maybe globally. What kind of support does Kinetic give you for that? And, now you're going through it, would you definitely encourage students to be flexible on location as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, it's a choice. So you don't have to do this.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who are still working, hybrid working from home and working in the office. Me, I prefer to work in the office. I'm always on site. I think safety is a face-fronting role. So if you're interested in safety, I always say, be comfortable with your face, let people see you, because that's when you're going to be the most helpful. And I want to travel because I want to be able to make the most impact. So I've applied for my company credit card. So I would just be booking my hotels and taking myself up and down the country. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well done you. And that's good. And in terms of, being confident enough to do that, like you say, getting your face out there and, meeting clients, meeting people, meeting new members of the team. James, you talked about the support and, the training you've got. Have you had much support in terms of that and preparing yourself to put yourselves in those situations?
Yeah, I'm not the best at presenting. I'm a very nervous person a lot. You probably can't see, but I'm shaking in my boots right now. But it's all about it. Yeah, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and challenge yourself. I mean, if you want to be successful in Kinetic, regardless of your application, you have to challenge yourself because it is mostly very technical, and you're going to be working alongside people who are just experts, incredibly intelligent. And if you want to get yourself heard, you have to put yourself out there. So for me, I'm definitely putting myself in an uncomfortable positions to stretch myself and challenge myself so I can become an expert one day and be the person with the most knowledge in the room.
Oh, well done you. That's really good. And that's a really good message for everyone else, to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. And, this is the time in your career where you can, because if you do it, you're going to end up, at the top at the, at the end of your career. So good point. And Matt, coming to you next, same question again, but yeah, you've talked a bit about your role and the experiences you've had so far, but anything else you want to add to that?
I wanted to actually reflect on what Maud was talking about. So not only is Kinetic just supporting us in getting to know whoever you want, there's very much a community kind of feel behind Kinetic. So right now, Steve Wadey, our big boss, CEO, is doing a talk right now just with staff, and it's just he calls it the roadshow, and he just has a webcam and people in the room, and he's talking about what's new, what we're aiming for, and he won't just do that, get off the stage or whatever. He'll then he's doing it in the cafe. So he's literally just having a coffee with people afterwards, having a chat. But not only that, like we had some onboarding stuff, and we had some of our global team just on the call, ready to answer questions, joining in some instances. We did one which was an escape room, a bit of an ice-breaking team building thing in our discovery, and one of the global leaders was just in our group having a bit of a laugh with us. And it was quite nice that they then say, hey, just book some time with me if you need information on anything, or if you want to chat. So there is a bit of a big community with Kinetic, which is quite nice.
And again, I think that's a good reflection on the business, isn't it? It's a good reflection on each individual within the team. The top is reaching out to the people that have just started the business and, wanting to upskill and be part of your journey as well, which is a fantastic, reflection on Kinetic as a business, which is good. And, it's not often, I think that might be a misconception that, if you start as a graduate, are you going to get that chance to speak to people at the top? And obviously you do, which is brilliant. Anything else you want to add, Matt, about any current, like your current role or any projects and stuff? Because that's where I want to go next.
So actually, the team that I'm involved with, some of the projects I'm involved with, I'm not actually allowed to say anything about at all. Otherwise, we'll get knocked at the door and whatever. But it's quite nice. My team, because we are designing and doing trials, mainly vehicle trials, so tracked, wheeled, unmanned, manned. I've actually worked with quite a few teams because it's like a 2-week-long trial rather than a whole year's worth of whatever. So I've had to be very agile on my feet, having to pick up different phrases and different meanings of things, and a lot of acronyms. So I've actually managed to meet a lot of teams, but at the moment, as I said, we've got like this nice cool robot thing here, which is a Kinetic project rather than another company project that we're running. And my team's actually just left me to it with them. They've said, right, you've had 5 weeks, you can look after them, you can do this, do these trials for them. Wow. Which is a bit nerve-wracking at times, but
How do you get, Matt? So you mentioned about, obviously you've got customers and you do projects for your customers as well. So how do you come up with a Kinetic project? Is it just somebody who's got an idea that they think they can then prototype and sell to a possible customer? Are you allowed to tell me the answer to that?
Yeah, so there's actually loads and loads and loads of different ways. So if it's something that is being developed anyways, then generally people reach out and say, right, we need people for this. For example, we were on a call the other day and there was a bloke just in the chat. He was running a project. It was a grad talk, and he just put in the chat, does anyone have any experience in this? Because I'm forming a team. So I emailed him saying, kind of, and he just kept me in the loop with the project, and we'll see what happens with that. But in terms of the way that Kinetic is set up, they actually have a whole business unit of basically you can go to the leader and say, I have this as an idea. You do a whole presentation, etc., and they will then say yes or no, and they will then give you the funding, and then you have to look for your team and stuff like that. So that is actually something Kinetic does, which is obviously why they start developing new technology and stuff. So things like our Dragonfire, that was, or would have been, just someone going up to this leader and going, I have this idea, bear with me, I'm going to produce a prototype, I'm going to show you how it works, and then after the budget that they've been given runs out and they show them, demonstrate it to them, they've gone, yeah, we want that, let's keep going with that. And then the budget obviously gets bigger, the team gets bigger, and it becomes a whole area.
I know that Dragonfly is in the public domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I looked around everyone then. I was like,
you can go Google that. You're fine.
Yeah, that's old news, guys.
That was so last year. Well, tell everybody, because it is so last year. Tell everybody a little bit about Dragonfly then, Matt, if you like.
I mean, that's nowhere near my area of expertise. Basically, you want to detect if things are happening to you. So you want a way of doing that. Is that right, Mike?
No, a little bit different. And I'm not an expert in the slightest, but I got a tour around it, which was super exciting. Once when I was on site at Farnborough, but so they'll probably kill me for not remembering a lot. But again, my brain's not the largest in comparison to most people in this company. But it's in short terms, it is a laser. It is a weapon. I'm a bit conscious that we do talk about weapons a lot, but our company's involved in that idea. But it's one thing before, just as kind of a caveat to add into that, is our company's all around safety.
Yeah.
We come with a problem, and the whole point is, how do we keep our customers safe? We're not going out and causing problems or issues, whatever it may be. The whole point is a customer comes with a problem, and again, in certain elements of the MOD, it will be a safety issue. So they may be in harm's way. How can we create a product or a service, or can you give us advice to prevent that? And that's what we're all about. So what Dragonfire basically is a laser which I believe was meant to be on the front of naval ships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a laser targeting system. So if, for instance, a aerial threat, let's say a drone, started encroaching and was going to come and hit the ship, for instance, this laser would be able to, I believe it's a phase, where it's a continuous laser instead of a pulse, is a phase laser which can target these systems and, as you can probably guess, destroy them or take them down, to keep everybody on the ship safe. As simple as that. So it is really cool. I'm being very careful again of what I'm saying with it, but you can go research and see that all over our website, and on the Grad Cracker Hub, I believe there's bits on there. So go have a look.
Cool, thanks,
really
Mike.
cool.
That's really good. Yeah, and I think we're going to go on to now. I think, Mike, we've hopefully inspired people to obviously join Kinetic. If I was a student watching, I'd be thinking, oh, what's my first couple of months at Kinetic going to be like then? So just share with the students their journey from, they've been successful, you've rung them up and said, yes, come join us. What's the next steps for them?
Well, there's probably not one journey, which is probably quite exciting for a lot of people. So, but what everybody typically comes on from, and I'll split this slightly, because we have our year in industry placements for undergraduates and we have our graduate placements. Now, everybody typically comes in September in those two placements. If you're doing a master's, sometimes we can delay it till the October, November to give you time and a holiday to come through. But for your first 30 days, you will come on to what we call Discovery Plus 30. So our Discovery Day 1 or 2, you come down, you meet leaders of the business, just like everybody was explaining then. You get tons of support like that. That's one of the incredible things with Kinetic. I think those who sit on those sort of higher positions really do care. I speak to them nearly every month, and you can tell they care a lot because they're always trying to push it and find out how they can help. So they come down and really go through what your future on your program is going to be like. You break into small groups, you learn about your area, you learn about your program in depth. We really use those 2 days to network, get you to know everybody else. You're all in the same position. It's a scary time. Joining a company is always awkward for everybody because you don't know who you're going to meet, what it's going to be like, how you need to act or behave in those certain situations. It can be a bit overwhelming. So the first 2 days is really just to welcome you, get to know the company, bring you in, start to integrate you into the business and the community around you. And then we have a further 28 days that follow from that, which is all around sort of support and training, getting you used into a business. Lots of people will be coming straight out of university. Some have had certain jobs. Some may have never worked before in sort of a business environment. So it's really just allowing you to train those soft skills or technical skills, depending on your area, to make sure you're comfortable from when that 30-day period ends. You can start picking up your role from there. Now, that doesn't mean we just cut the bungee cord and say, there you go, you're going to be full time, have your job. There's support built in through the year. So we've got career labs, we've got technical labs, you've got technical training programs you can join, support, everything from up and beyond. So that's how it typically comes in. the one thing that I did forget to mention from office stage as well is we do have an onboarding plan. So probably even scarier than stepping in that day one is the anticipation of starting day one. Like, I've got the offer, I've said yes. What do I do now? Do I need to prepare? I've got studies, I've got everything going on. We've got a full onboarding plan, again, to integrate you with everybody around. We have a group called Cortex, which is a really cool initiative at Kinetic, which is basically a group of all new starters who have joined within 4 years. Doesn't matter if you're on a program within early careers or anywhere from around, which is just a funded group, funded by Kinetic, and it's all for new starters to go through social activities, well-being, technical talks, and they get a lot involved in the onboarding period, really to start welcome you and meet people who are local, particularly talking like where you're mentioning relocation. It's scary going to a new place. Like, I've done it. I know what it's like, and you're kind of by yourself. Who am I going to meet? So the onboarding period and Cortex particularly are there to give you that support mechanism. They've all done it before. They've all been in that situation. They know how to handle it, how shares, how to, like, what are the prices, all those extra additional thought process you have to go through. That's what we really build up on support. So everybody follows that same track into the company. They get that onboarding period, and then they get that 30 plus. The only ones that slightly differ are summers. Obviously they can't do their plus 30 because that would go all the way through. So we do a shorter condensed version, really to kind of allow those people on the summers to do the most important thing, which is get into meaningful work and get experience as quick as possible to get a feeling for what that role is like. If they like it or not, you never know, it's all new to you. And really gain that experience. So the support's still there, it's just obviously more condensed and typically a bit faster paced for them, but we really just try and equip people with the tools. So if you need something, you've got the tool to help or find it out and go from there.
I really like the idea as well, then, like, it's not just you grads, it's everybody. So it could be a more experienced person, but you're all going through the same, you know, whether you're 40, 50, 60, or whether you're 20, 21, you're still going through like the same apprehensions, aren't you, with starting a new employer. So I really like the way that you join everybody together with that.
Yeah, it's and on graduates and people who are doing masters, doctorates, whatever it may be, as they come through, is that they are all different ages, all from different backgrounds, all from whatever it may be. And we're big on diversity. We're big on making people feel comfortable as they come through, particularly in this industry, which is usually behind an iron curtain, as such. Like you said, when we started to talk about projects, you need to be very careful what you talk about, because we do work in an industry at times where safety is the prime piece. So if you talk about something a little bit too much and it leaks, that there might be a problem that's kind of bigger, like the butterfly effect. But so it's nice to kind of have those mixes of people coming in and kind of understanding what it's like to be part of this company, but also what the sort of range of people are like coming in and like you said, experience that same journey as one, because no one's different.
Yeah, no, I really like that. Thanks, Mike. I think we're going to go to projects, Jess.
Yeah, Matt, you kind of talked a bit about your project. So James, I'll come to you next, if that's okay. And if you could talk about any projects you've been involved in.
Yeah, so I spoke a little about that Split Hopkinson's high shear test, which is with Cavendish Lab. But there are a lot of projects that are going through with different contractors looking at various material analysis techniques. And it's about slowly building up more and more expertise and knowledge, because there's so many different materials analysis techniques that are in the labs and all these different people with different expertise that I'm gradually being introduced to and learning from. So in the future, I'll be on more projects. As you probably appreciate, the calm before the storm right now of having more time available to me. But in the future, I'll be learning more about different processes that can analyze these materials, and just improving on my technical expertise.
I don't want to ask the question because I'm going to ask it, but we'll talk about futures. But do you find that, doing all the things that you have been doing and being involved in all the things you have been involved in, that can you see where your career path's going to go now, or do you think that it's going to end up taking a different turn at Kinetic? Could you see yourself coming away more from the material side, or can you always see staying within that kind of bit of the business?
Well, yeah, there is the opportunity to stay in that and become an expert in a certain field. But within the graduate program, there's 2 6-month placements away from my home site, which
Right.
we'll all be doing. So I can experience different parts of the business. So I don't have to do another technical team somewhere. I could go into administration or HR or business to learn more about different aspects of it,
Yeah.
to understand more about how the company works, how the projects get collated and stuff. So there are multiple paths I could take, but yeah, technical is what I'm focusing on at the moment before I go on these placements. I might do another one, not sure yet, but
Yeah.
we'll see when we come to it. Yeah.
That's great that you've got the option though, isn't it? You know, you can have the chance now to experiment and then come back to maybe what you originally want to do. Maud, I'm going to come to you next. Projects.
Okay, so like I said, I've got little things here and there going on. My biggest project at the moment, I have to be careful here, is basically we are developing a software that's going to be used internationally. So this is going to be used by everybody in the business, and this is something that I programmed and developed EHS software when I was at university as my master's project. So there it is again, where they try to make it compatible with what your experience is. So I'm heavily involved in that, developing it, defining what good would look like for the company. So it involves sitting down with key stakeholders, doing something we call user acceptance testing. So working with people to test that the system is going to work, stuff like that. So that takes maybe about 16 hours of meetings and workshops a week, in terms of work that I have to do towards that project. But on the side, I'm also doing a proposal for a project that I want to do, that will be based really on traveling. So I'm trying to make my own proposal, which is what I think Matt was saying about if you've got an idea, you just have to get it accepted. So I'm going through that process now and getting my own project idea accepted so I can work on it and deliver it as potentially one of my 6 months placement opportunities.
Can I delve into what that project is, or is it top secret?
That one, I didn't ask permission of what I can say, so
no, it's fine. I don't want to get into trouble. Something top secret. Sounds exciting.
You mentioned back, I'm going to take away from Jess. Jess is going to get everybody sacked.
No, I want to know the gossip. I want to know what's going on.
We'll do that when it's not recorded, Jess. It's not recorded. Mike, from Maud's point of view, obviously Maud's mentioned quite a few locations, but predominantly where will the graduates actually be based? Is it just in Hampshire, or are there other locations?
So we got locations across the whole of the UK. And I know that we're a global company and growing globally is where our strategy is moving towards. So there is an outlook on that, but currently for the UK program based in the UK, and that's honestly, again, think of anywhere. We can go from the west, east, north coast of Scotland, same in Wales, and same in England. Primarily, we have core in Hampshire, in Worcestershire, sort of just by the Midlands, in a place called Malvern, and then really in sort of the big Hampshire area. That sort of spans across the south. But if you go onto our website, or again the GradCracker Hub, you'll see those locations split across in both the applications. So
they're all listed on there. Thank you, Mike. So I'm hoping now I'm going to move on to Mike, the application process. Jessica, is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, love. So Mike, the application process, I know you touched on that at the beginning, but is there anything else that you wanted to add to the whole application process, and obviously share any hints and tips with the students which are quite specific?
I'm not giving that away, Carla.
Oh, come on.
So I guess the first one I just wanted to add in, and just really to stress with people, because I know that we've got certain caliber of what we do in this company sort of on the talk or the stretch, but we do open to every part of STEM. So if anybody has been watching or listening or watching this back, that it doesn't matter if you're a physiologist somewhere in human performance. We've got people who have studied butterflies with Marwell Zoo. It stretches from all the small things to that, all the way to people who might be sort of pure engineers, it's a whole span. So I just kind of wanted to put that point across, just in case we felt too engineering. It's honestly anything you can think of. But in regards to the process, I'm hoping it's really easy and it's evolved. It will be challenging and it will be rigorous, but it's that way for a reason, right? We really want to get the best out of you once you apply as you come through. But the stages are split into 6 stages really. Some are longer than others, and some are probably more fun straight away than others. But overall, we really hope it's just a fair process for everybody gets in and is fun once you leave, where you've left a bit educated and understanding. But stage 1, easy, go and apply. Go onto the GradCracker website, find the position you're interested in, click that, apply, come through, and then you welcome to my world of madness. So that's stage 1. Stage 2, and again, what people probably grasped, we could talk about this for hours and hours about what each area does to a degree, without saying too much and getting Maud in trouble anymore, Jessica. But so stage 2 is something called the journey. Now, what the point of that is when you apply for a role, the adverts at times will be more generic, just to obviously get you interested in the area. And then once you come in, we really deep dive into what that area is about, so that you can see all the opportunities that span across within Kinetic. But as well as that, really get a feel for what the teams are about. It will have the requirements that are there for that role, as well as where that role is based. And you can have a choice at that stage whether you want to be considered going forward. So they're really 2 easy steps. It's really to educate you and get your application in. Stage 3 is when the managers start coming involved. So they'll be reviewing everybody's application, making sure that you do have the requirements and so on going, but you don't have to do anything for that. Stage 4, we go to competencies or technical competencies, aptitudes type of questions. So you usually get asked around 5 questions that are relevant to the role. It's to test you. Hopefully they're fun questions. They might be research questions, they might be videos, they might be sort of multiple choice, but it's all there really to get an understanding of what your depth of knowledge is in that area, or what your interests are in that area. So they're the first 4 stages. They're the ones that run all the way up until November. Our 5th stage is the virtual assessment center. Now this is where you get embedded into Kinetic first off. I like it because I have a lot of fun, but hopefully most of the feedback is people have a lot of fun as well. It's all about your values and behaviors. We want to know if you're the right fit for the company, but vice versa, if we're the right fit for you. You're the person applying. We need to make sure that it works both ways. So we do a few sort of group activities, solo activities, meet the community, really getting sort of enveloped within what the rest of the community have gone through to get to hear their voice, and vice versa for them to hear yours as well.
Meg, and what you're looking for, I'm gonna interject, because you have to give me something, a little something that you're looking for during that. Come on. That's fine. So if I'm honest, throughout the whole application process, and this does sound like maybe a bit of a cop-out, but is to find out about the person. If to keep it simplistic, a lot of the people who'll be applying will do relatively the same degree. And there might be a slight change in university, or however you want to look at that. We're not too bothered in that sense. A lot of you will leave with the same degree, but the thing that will differ you is your interests and hobbies. That's what we want from you. If you're passionate about, I don't know, spider webs, it doesn't matter. There'll be something within the company which drives an interest. If you tinker with computers outside of home, if you build your own things, if you research webinars like you're doing today, all of those little things add to your CV and add to your interest. To keep it even more simplistic, everybody coming into the company, as you could consider, is a risk. You don't know if they're going to like it, you don't know if they're going to enjoy it, you don't know if they're going to leave in a week, a year, 2 years. So the best way to start to manage that and find out if people are the right fit is, what do you do above and beyond? What's your interest for? If you love automotive vehicles, then when you go and join the automotive team and you're doing bits outside, you're going to know you like it and you're going to start to understand. So as you come through the assessments, particularly in the assessment center, we want good group activity. We want to just see you. We don't want to see trying to tick the boxes. We want to make sure that you come across as you are. So that's a big cheat. If you can get it through and really show us those, that'll get you through.
Just to add to that, it's not, because sometimes speaking to the students I do on a daily basis, I think they worry to mention things like that in their application or CV or wherever, because they're worried that, is it relevant? Are you going to, as a recruiter, are you going to be bothered about seeing that? I think they're worried that, it's not actual work experience or something like that. And I'm so glad you've said this, because it's something I keep saying to the students at the moment. Mention anything that's going to make your application stand out, whatever that may be. And, you know, like I say, even if it's about spider webs.
Well, I
so
think,
you've got a passion.
yeah, I think proof in the pudding there, Mike. Over the last 3 years, how many applications roughly do you think you've seen? Thousands?
Oh, tens of thousands. I think this third year will maybe come up to 35,000 applications.
So Mike's seen 35,000 applications, and you still remember the person that you spoke to about before about the butterflies. You know, do you see what I mean? It's stuff like that. You think, oh, I remember that person. So it's definitely worth something, you know, adding something to your CV, isn't it? Mentioning that.
Yeah.
And another thing, have you finished, Mike, or is he?
Yeah, I was just going to say that in the last stage, obviously following that assessment centre is live interviews. And again, it's just follow that same trait. People are looking for something where they can spark and teach you. That's what the program is. It's a development program to teach you. You're not going to be an expert the day you walk in.
Yeah.
That's what we've got experts there for. So again, throughout that process, don't fear about not knowing something. Overshow that you're interested in learning, and do that all the way through to interview.
Yeah, and ask questions. You know, you're not meant to know everything. Michael, hold your hand all the way through. So if you do have a question, a concern, or a query, this is what everybody's there for at Kinetic, to help you out. And Mike, I think Jess will agree with me. When Jess is speaking to students, or when I'm speaking to students, it isn't a quick round, is it, of recruitment? You know, it is quite a lengthy process. So just be aware when you put your applications in and everything else, you might not hear from Kinetic that, you know, the next day. It does take time in filtering and everything else. So don't think it's going to be, you know, just around the corner. Mike, do you have any idea when you're running these assessment centres and everything else?
Yeah, and throughout the process, we've hopefully tried to be quite direct, because I know that can be a bugbear for people, not knowing when you're going to hear back, especially when you've applied to a lot of places and you can be left there sitting not sure. So we've got timescales built throughout the whole process. Again, I'm going to be picking the date off the top of my head, but I believe, and it's around this time, is we'll start our assessment centres from the 24th of November through until the 3rd of December. So one of those days you would attend, and then the interviews follow from the 3rd of December through till the 17th of December. So get your applications before that, and you'll run straight through.
Well, that's quite quick, isn't it? What we're now, the 14th of October, so that's quite quick, isn't it? So make sure you get your applications in, and apply to Kinetic. Mike wants to see your application and see that you've watched this webinar. Anything else from the grads? Did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we finished off? You don't need to.
Know your CV. That's me. That's my only thing. Know what's on your CV, and make sure anything you put on there, you know it by the back of your hand, because that's what they're going to go off. So even when you start, you know, a lot of the things are like, more your CV says this, do that. So just know what's on there and be ready for that. Yeah, and I think from what you guys were saying before, Mo, that your CV kind of helps with your journey at Kinetic, doesn't it, about the things that you're interested in and everything else. So yeah, make sure, do not do a generic CV either, you know, make it quite tailored to Kinetic and the opportunities that they have on offer. Cool. Well, that's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed that one. So thank you very much, everybody. We got through it, Mike, together. My love, told you we would.
I know, I was very nervous, so thank you for holding my hand through it. I was worse than Maud.
I said I would, sweetheart. I'm always here. Cool. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Maud, James, Matt, and Mike, and obviously the lovely Jessica. So next week, we've got a long one, Jess. So we've got 2 webinars next week, everybody. We've got Amazon on Monday. So I don't need to explain who Amazon is. Everybody knows who Amazon is. So 2 o'clock Monday, and then we've got London Stock Exchange on Thursday at 2 o'clock. So thank you very much for Kinetic today. Obviously, don't forget to look at the hub, get your applications in. Mike is looking forward to meeting you, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.